When the news broke that Charlie Kirk got shot on campus, the internet lost its damn mind. Within minutes, every feed in America was lit up. Sirens in the background, shaky student videos, tweets firing off like bullets. Folks were dropping hot takes before the cops even cleared the scene. Some yelling false flag, others screaming free speech under fire. You could practically hear the country splitting in real time. It wasn't just another news story. It was a digital earthquake that cracked open every timeline from DC to Dallas. And man, people weren't ready for what came next. Students said it felt like chaos, pure chaos. Phones out, alarms blaring, teachers locking doors. One kid told a reporter it was like the whole campus went from chill to war zone in 10 seconds. Videos started flying across TikTok before the ambulances even rolled up. You could see the fear, the confusion. Nobody knew what the hell had just gone down. But what hit harder than the sound of those sirens was the realization that this wasn't just about one man. It was about the fuse he'd been carrying all along. Charlie Kirk had been a magnet for controversy for years. Love him or hate him, you knew his name. He'd walked into colleges across America sparking firestorms. The dude thrived on confrontation. So when shots rang out at one of his events, people didn't just ask who pulled the trigger. They asked who lit the match. Because let's be real, in today's America, every argument's a battlefield, and every tweet's a loaded gun. Cable news jumped on it like vultures. CNN went full campus safety mode. Fox called it an attack on conservative voices. And social media turned into a damn war zone of hashtags. Hashtags like free speech under fire, campus chaos, justice for Kirk, trending all at once, each pulling the story in a different direction. Commentators were trading punches on live TV while college kids were still hiding under desks. One network even rolled dramatic music like it was a movie trailer. America loves drama, and this was the perfect storm. Then came the spin. Within hours, both sides were milking the moment for clout. Influencers uploaded reaction breakdowns, politicians sent fundraising emails, and everyone suddenly had exclusive inside info. You couldn't scroll for 5 seconds without someone screaming that this is proof of the other side's evil. Welcome to Politics 2025, baby. Everything's content, everything's strategy, and truth is just another player in the game. But here's where it got even crazier. Leaks started flying. Anonymous campus witnesses, private group chats, screenshots popping up on Reddit. Half real, half nonsense, but all viral. People swore the shooter was part of some secret political group. Others said it was a setup to silence conservative voices. Everyone wanted to be first. Nobody cared about being right. That's how stories mutate now. One headline, 10 million opinions. By midnight, the internet wasn't talking about what happened. It was debated who benefits. Conspiracy podcasts were already pumping out episodes calling it Operation Echo. Talk show hosts were throwing out words like deep state, staged hit, and media psyod. The algorithm loves madness, and it got fed good that night. Meanwhile, back in Washington, phones were blowing up. Lawmakers were calling emergency briefings, PR teams writing statements before they even had facts. Some insiders whispered that this could fast-track new laws around campus security and digital speech. You could almost hear the gears turning. Tragedy, then politics, then profit. It's a script America's seen too many damn times. Students held vigils, online trolls mocked them. Celebrities tweeted thoughts and prayers between product promos. It felt performative, hollow, but the clicks kept coming. Every clip of the shooting pulled millions of views. Every debate clip pulled millions more. We weren't mourning, we were monetizing chaos. And deep down, everyone knew it. That's the scary part. Nobody trusts anything anymore. You could show folks the same footage, and one half would scream, "Attack on democracy!" The other half, "Fake news stunt." We've reached a point where truth doesn't trend unless it's dramatic. That's why this story hit different. It wasn't just blood on the ground, it was a mirror held up to the whole damn country. And just when it seemed like things might cool off, a new clip dropped. Security footage from another angle. The internet went ballistic again. Every reaction channel jumped on it within minutes. Some slowed it down, circled random faces, claimed this guy looked suspicious. Others said, "Look, you can see Kirk turn before the shot. Was he expecting it?" The comment sections turned into full-blown investigation zones. Everyone suddenly became an FBI agent with Wi-Fi. But trust me, once you see who's been whispering behind the scenes about this incident, you'll realize this rabbit hole goes way deeper than one shooting. Because this wasn't just a headline, it was an opportunity. Power players, media execs, lobbyists, all crossing lines to shape the narrative. And that's what comes next. This isn't the end of a story, it's the start of a political chain reaction that's about to shake Washington to its core. So buckle up, because the real story isn't about who pulled the trigger, it's about who's pulling the strings. The moment those shots rang out, the whole campus went to hell. 1 second, students were laughing outside the auditorium. The next, it was pure panic. Sirens screaming, people yelling, "Get down!" Shoes slapping the floor, phones flying everywhere. Some kids thought it was a drill. Others hit the floor hard, covering their heads with backpacks. Within seconds, chaos had swallowed the place. You could hear screams echoing down the hallways, not because anyone knew what was happening, but because nobody did. That's the kind of fear that doesn't need confirmation. It just spreads. Videos started pouring out within minutes. Snapchat stories, TikToks, shaky vertical footage, every angle you could imagine. The internet was seeing this unfold in real time, long before the news even got a whiff. Someone caught the sound of the shot echoing through the gym speakers. Another recorded the moment the crowd stampeded out the doors. It was messy, raw, and terrifyingly real. That's the kind of footage algorithms eat alive. Instant virality, before the facts even land. Then came the cops. Blue lights flashing through the rain, tactical gear, megaphones barking orders. Stay inside, shelter in place. But nobody was listening. Half the students were already live streaming, narrating their own version of the story. That's the new America. Everyone's a reporter, even when they're running for their lives. One clip had over 2 million views before the police had even confirmed a suspect. Truth couldn't keep up with the speed of panic. By the time news outlets picked it up, the narrative was already set. Chaos on campus, conservative speaker attacked, students terrified. Every network wanted a piece of it. CNN ran with "Campus in Crisis." Fox called it "Silencing the Right." MSNBC rolled out graphics like it was election night. You could practically hear the editorial meetings screaming for hotter headlines. But inside those dorms, it didn't feel political. It felt primal. Kids crying, texting parents, locking doors. One student's live stream caught another whispering, "Bro, this is insane. It's like America's losing its damn mind." And they weren't wrong. What happened on that campus wasn't just a shooting. It was a mirror reflecting how divided the country's become. Within hours, politicians were already taking sides. Senators tweeting their thoughts and prayers, followed by not-so-subtle jabs at the other side. Activists jumping online to push their angles. Hashtags sprouting faster than facts. It wasn't even about Charlie Kirk anymore. It was about what his name represented. But before we get to the politics, let's slow down and piece together the chaos. According to early eyewitnesses, the event had been running smooth. Charlie was mid-speech, talking about free speech and the woke takeover of universities. Then right around 2:47 p.m., a loud pop echoed across the room. Some thought it was feedback from the mic. Others ducked instantly. Security moved in, fast. Students scrambled for exits, while others froze, clutching their phones. 10 seconds later, the live stream cut out. That's all it took, 10 seconds, to turn a speaking event into a national headline. Police locked down the entire building, clearing rooms one by one. Helicopters hovered overhead. News choppers soon joined in, broadcasting aerial shots of flashing lights and panicked crowds. Commentators on Twitter were already arguing over motives before anyone knew if the shooter had even been caught. "This is what happens when you bring hate to campuses," one tweet said. Another fired back, "This is what happens when free speech isn't safe." The fight wasn't just in the streets, it was in the feeds. Then the footage started to spread. Grainy clips showing Kirk being escorted out by security, face pale, jacket stained. You could see the shock in his eyes. The man built his career on confrontation, but not this kind. For a split second, even he looked like he realized the monster of division had finally come to life. His face was trending within minutes, not as a person, but as a symbol. Half the country calling him a victim, the other half calling him a provocateur who pushed too far. By sundown, the entire country was watching. Campus protests flared up within hours, one side holding "Free speech lives here" signs, the other shouting "Stop the hate." It looked less like a university and more like a miniature version of America's cultural war zone. And it wasn't just students. Parents, local politicians, even influencers showed up to go live, to cover the story. Every angle, every soundbite, every emotion, content. America doesn't process trauma anymore. It monetizes it. The weirdest part? Nobody knew the shooter's motive yet. Law enforcement kept tight lips, saying they were still verifying leads. But the vacuum of facts only made room for chaos. Reddit threads blew up, Telegram channels claiming insider info, YouTubers dissecting slowed-down clips like they were Zapruder film experts. Everyone wanted to break the story first, but nobody cared if the story broke the truth. As night fell, local news showed candles and flowers piling up near the lecture hall. Students crying softly, trying to process the unthinkable. But in the background, someone's phone played a Fox News panel arguing if this was the left's fault or the right's. That's the America we live in now. Grief and debate sharing the same frame. And while the public was still grieving, the political machine was already spinning. Behind closed doors, campaign strategists saw an opening. A tragedy like this, it's a goldmine for influence. Statements were drafted, talking points distributed, and within 12 hours of the first shot, politicians were already on TV turning pain into policy. You could almost see the calculation behind every tear and tweet. But here's where it gets real. Because within hours, politicians started weaponizing this story like a damn campaign ad. Both sides sharpening their knives, lining up interviews, and prepping the next phase of the fight. This wasn't just a shooting anymore, it was the spark that lit a fire under the entire election cycle. Every side wanted to own the narrative, and they didn't care what had to burn in the process. And what happens when the fight for truth turns into a fight for power? That's where the story takes its darkest turn. Because this wasn't the last shot fired, not even close. The second the dust settled, the spin game kicked in. You could almost feel the political vultures circling before the smoke even cleared. Within hours, it wasn't about what happened on that campus, it was about who could own the narrative first. Republicans called it an attack on free speech, Democrats said Kirk's own rhetoric finally caught up with him, and Twitter turned into a full-blown food fight. Hashtags flying, influencers ranting, blue checks dropping think pieces like they were running for office. America didn't just react, it performed. Cable news went full theater mode. Fox News rolled out a free speech under fire banner like it was a movie title. CNN cut to emotional student interviews with piano music in the background. MSNBC had panels of pundits dissecting Kirk's past speeches like forensic experts. Everyone wanted their angle to stick, because in 2025 politics, the truth is just another marketing tool. The spin cycle wasn't hours anymore, it was seconds. And every second meant more clout, more reach, more power. Over on the right, conservative voices were rallying hard. They painted Kirk as a martyr, a man targeted for daring to speak his mind in a woke world. "If Charlie Kirk isn't safe, none of us are," said one talking head. Turning Point USA dropped a fiery statement, calling it an assault on American values. Fundraising links started popping up before the police even held a press conference. It was less about justice, more about traction. The right saw blood in the water, not Kirk's, but the left's. Meanwhile, Democrats didn't hold back either. Progressives went live on TikTok saying, "This is what happens when hate speech becomes a brand." Liberal commentators framed it as the inevitable backlash of extremism. Late-night hosts were cracking jokes before Kirk even got out of the hospital. The left wasn't just responding, they were roasting. Kirk memes flooded Reddit. One clip showed his old college debates with captions like, "When karma has better aim." It was brutal, but it was also effective.
Online, politics isn't about policy anymore. It's about who can dunk harder. And that's the wild part. America splits so deep that tragedy doesn't unite, it entertains. You had one half praying for Kirk, and the other half farming likes off his pain. The media loved it because outrage sells. Each headline was like gasoline on a fire that never burns out. The more divided people got, the better the ratings climbed. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise, the actual truth vanished into the algorithm. But it didn't stop at media. Lawmakers saw a chance to ride the wave. One senator went on X saying this was proof conservatives were under siege. Another dropped a fiery statement blaming right-wing rhetoric for fueling violence. Both sides claiming moral high ground, both sides cashing in. The Capitol turned into a PR war zone. You could almost hear the campaign consultants whispering, "This is the moment, spin it fast." Even president clips got chopped and re-edited online to fit different narratives. One version made him look sympathetic, another made him look dismissive. Same words, different edits. Two Americas, two realities. The internet wasn't debating facts anymore, it was remixing them. And then came the influencers. Oh man, the clout chase was unreal. Political TikTok blew up like a 4th of July firework. You had kids barely out of high school giving breakdowns of the shooting like they were CNN analysts. Streamers reacted live, pausing mid-sentence for donations. Some called it the moment that'll change politics. Others used it to push their merch. America had turned a national crisis into a brand collaboration. Every big podcaster dropped a hot take. Some called it a government cover-up, others said it was a symptom of the culture war gone nuclear. Each one wrapping their opinions in flashy thumbnails and dramatic music, trying to outshock the next. The competition wasn't about truth, it was about views per minute. Whoever yelled louder trended faster. Behind the scenes, insiders said the real power players were already gaming out the next steps. Private strategy calls, donor meetings, narrative memos, all happening before the investigation even finished. One leaked document from a political PAC literally labeled the incident a communications opportunity. Yeah, they actually wrote that in plain text. That's not politics anymore. That's weaponized storytelling. By week's end, polls started shifting. Conservative voters reported feeling under attack, while independent voters said the culture wars have gone too far. That tiny swing was enough to get campaign managers sweating bullets. Because here's the thing, moments like this don't just trend, they ripple. They shape elections, define movements, and rewrite talking points overnight. The 2026 midterms suddenly felt a whole lot closer. Online, people were getting roasted left and right. One wrong take and you were done. Canceled, clipped, memed into oblivion. Even journalists were walking on eggshells. Say something too sympathetic to Kirk, you're a bigot. Say something too harsh, you're celebrating violence. The middle ground doesn't exist anymore. America's echo chambers are built with concrete. But under all the chaos, a quiet question started creeping in. Who actually benefits from all this noise? Because it sure as hell wasn't the students who lived through the fear. It wasn't Kirk lying in a hospital bed. It was the politicians who turned pain into PowerPoints and the media execs who turned panic into profit. The system feeds on outrage, and this was a 5-course meal. And then came the leaks. Private DMs between political aides hit the net showing conversations about how to frame the narrative. One aide literally said, "We can ride this wave through November." The internet lost its mind again. Hashtags like Spingate and Kirk leaks started trending. Suddenly, this wasn't about the shooting, it was about who lied the best afterward. The spin war had gone nuclear. By now, every American watching had picked a side, drawn a line, and logged in for battle. The facts didn't matter anymore. It was all vibes, all spin, all performance. The news anchors played referee, but the crowd had already chosen their champions. And just when everyone thought it couldn't get messier, that's when the real twist started to leak out. Because sources close to the investigation claimed the story behind the shooting wasn't what it seemed. And the craziest part? Some insiders claim this whole thing could shift voter momentum before 2026. Imagine that, one gunshot on a college campus rippling through the political bloodstream of an entire nation. You can already feel the campaigns loading it into their ammo belts. The debate stages, the sound bites, the ads, all prepped to milk the moment. Because in America, nothing's sacred. Not tragedy, not truth, just the game. And the game never stops spinning.
When the story hit national headlines, the media circus went absolutely off the rails. Every network, every influencer, every wannabe journalist online wanted a piece of the chaos. The rumor mill didn't just start, it exploded. You could scroll for 10 seconds and see 5 different realities of the same damn event. Fox News was pushing attack on conservative freedom. CNN was running emotional montages with slow piano undergrads crying on camera. And MSNBC had 3 professors breaking down the psychology of right-wing radicalism. Everyone had a version. Nobody had the truth. YouTube lit up like a Christmas tree at 3 a.m. Thumbnails screaming, "Breaking! Kirk attack full footage explained!" Faces frozen mid-shock, arrows pointing to random pixels. Half of them were reaction channels pretending to analyze security footage. The other half were just dudes whispering conspiracy theories into $40 mics. And the craziest part? Every single one of them was making bank. CPM rates go through the roof when tragedy trends. Nobody admits it, but everybody knows. Outrage pays. TikTok was even wilder. Quick-cut videos of crying students mixed with reaction edits of influencers saying, "This is what America's become." Some clips had cinematic filters, others had sad music or fire emojis, depending on which side you were on. One minute you'd see a campus witness saying it felt like war, and the next you'd get a guy lip-syncing free speech under fire while trying to look deep. The internet can turn anything into content, even trauma. X, formerly Twitter, but let's be real, it's still Twitter, went absolutely feral. Hashtags like Kirk attack, campus chaos, false flag started trending. Verified users were dropping thread after thread like they were uncovering Watergate 2.0. People were zooming into screenshots, drawing red circles around random bystanders, claiming this guy looks staged. Some even said the gunman was a paid actor. Bro, the conspiracy crowd went full throttle, calling it staged, saying it's a deep state stunt. And yeah, some even blamed aliens. That's right, actual aliens. The tinfoil hat brigade was having the best week of their lives. Then the influencers jumped in, the professional clout chasers. They saw numbers and went hunting. Big political YouTubers dropped 40-minute deep dives with cinematic lighting and doomsday music. One guy opened his video whispering, "They don't want you to see this." The next hour was screenshots, zoom-ins, and vibes. No sources, no receipts, just pure clickbait adrenaline. But the views? Millions. That's the new economy. Facts are optional. Fear sells faster. On the flip side, you had liberal creators using the moment to roast conservatives. Stitch videos, memes, sarcastic edits of Kirk's past clips. Remember when you said words can't hurt you? The comments were ruthless. Twitter threads comparing him to his own karma were getting thousands of retweets. The internet wasn't processing news. It was performing outrage. Even mainstream outlets were getting dragged. Fox got roasted for using old footage. CNN got flamed for cry porn coverage. Independent journalists were calling everyone fake, while still cashing in with their own donation links. It was chaos, but organized chaos. Algorithm approved, engagement optimized, perfectly packaged for the attention economy. And it didn't stop there. Podcasts dropped exclusive intel episodes claiming they had whistleblowers inside the investigation. Some dude on Rumble said the whole thing was orchestrated to distract from a DC bill being voted on the same day. Another claimed the bullet trajectory didn't make sense, like we're suddenly living in a Netflix true crime series. People ate it up. Facts didn't matter. Vibes did.
Even journalists who tried to report responsibly got slammed. If you weren't extreme, you were invisible. Say, "We don't have all the details yet," and you'd get flamed for being soft. Say, "This could have political implications," and both sides would accuse you of bias. In the spin economy, neutrality doesn't trend, only noise does. And bro, the memes. Holy hell, the memes came faster than the facts. Within 24 hours, you had remix edits of Kirk's speech with dramatic sound effects, AI voiceovers making him say, "I told you so," and clips of news anchors edited into TikTok dances. It was disrespectful, sure, but it was also inevitable.
That's internet culture. We can't even process tragedy without turning it into entertainment. The wildest part? Some of those fake clips went more viral than the actual footage. By the time official statements came out, nobody cared. People had already built their own reality from the scraps of rumor and rage. The media wasn't leading the story anymore. The comment section was. Meanwhile, PR teams were losing their minds, campaign managers were calling news producers to tone down the coverage, while digital strategists were whispering, "Don't tone down a damn thing, milk it." Advertisers were making sure their brands were strategically placed between debate clips. This wasn't chaos, it was commerce. Pain gets monetized faster than peace. And while the media was busy feeding on the frenzy, something quieter was happening behind closed doors in D.C. Government officials were suddenly holding private briefings, lobbyists started popping up on Capitol Hill again, whispering about security funding and campus policy reform. Washington smelled blood in the water and power in the panic. The whole damn system thrives on distraction. But let's not get it twisted, this wasn't just media hysteria. This was narrative warfare. Networks weren't reporting, they were shaping the battlefield. Influencers weren't just reacting, they were auditioning for political contracts. Every clip, every take, every exclusive leak was a bullet in an information war. And the public? Just caught in the crossfire, scrolling, sharing, arguing, fueling the machine one click at a time. Even late-night hosts couldn't resist. They cracked jokes, dropped punchlines, turned the shooting into a comedy bit. The audience laughed, clapped, forgot, and the story kept rolling. America doesn't pause anymore. We scroll past the smoke like it's another meme. And right when everyone thought the chaos was dying down, a mysterious video surfaced. Grainy, low-res, timestamp blurred, supposedly from a different angle. The clip didn't show much, but that didn't matter. The internet crowned it proof of the cover-up. Commentators screamed, "This changes everything!" Threads blew up overnight, and everyone was back in the frenzy like it was day one all over again. The loop had reset. Outrage reborn. But while the internet's losing its mind, let's talk about what's really cooking in Washington, because behind the memes, the hashtags, and the media chaos, something bigger's brewing, something that might change how power really works in America. And this time, it's not the influencers or the networks pulling the strings, it's the suits behind the scenes, the ones who know that every crisis is just another opportunity to rewrite the rules.
Behind closed doors, DC doesn't talk, it whispers. After the chaos, when the cameras turned off and the outrage died down, the real game started. The corridors of Capitol Hill were humming with low conversations, tight circles, and too many half-smiles. Lawmakers weren't asking how Charlie Kirk got shot, they were asking how to use it. That's the part nobody sees on TV. The public gets emotion, but Washington runs on opportunity. Inside committee rooms, the tone was ice cold. Staffers walked around like chess players, moving words instead of pieces. They weren't mourning, they were strategizing. Campus safety, digital misinformation, free speech accountability, those phrases started popping up like wildflowers after a storm. The same people who go on camera screaming about liberty were suddenly talking about regulation. And the journalists who usually play watchdog, they were sitting in the corner, taking notes for tomorrow's exclusive. Capitol insiders started whispering that this could be the perfect setup to push new speech laws. Think about it. An attack tied to a conservative speaker, a national media firestorm, a divided public desperate for order. That's the golden ticket in Washington. You wrap power grabs in public safety, and suddenly even your enemies nod along. It's not about controlling violence, it's about controlling narrative. And guess who's already drafting the damn bill? Lobbyists, the real shadow players. While the country argued online, they were already in DC restaurants cutting deals over overpriced steak and bourbon. Big tech reps, campus association lawyers, policy advisors, all in one room talking about solutions. You can practically smell the money when that many suits gather in one place.
The word regulation might scare the public, but in DC, it's code for new contracts, new cash flow. One staffer leaked that the early draft of the bill included provisions for speech risk assessments on campuses, basically background checks for speakers. Wrap your head around that. You'd need clearance to share ideas. Freedom of speech on a leash. And all it took was one shooting to make it sound responsible. That's how fast liberty gets rebranded in Washington. A tragedy in the streets, a policy on paper by morning. Behind the curtain, senators started lining up their talking points. You had one side saying it's time to draw a line between speech and safety, and the other side screaming, this is censorship disguised as concern. But both sides were cashing donations off the same headlines. It's like a rigged fight where both boxers get paid no matter who wins. The outrage is the show. The money is the mission. Lobby firms were running full throttle. Every think tank suddenly had a new study to present, conveniently backed by their donors. Cable pundits were being briefed with sound bites that tested well in polls, rebuilding trust in public spaces, protecting discourse in dangerous times. Fancy words that basically mean we're about to rewrite what you can say and where you can say it. Meanwhile, media execs in New York and LA were having their own kind of emergency meeting. Not about truth, about viewership. They saw numbers spike like crazy during the chaos, and now they wanted a way to keep that audience hooked. So they greenlit more campus conflict segments, booked louder guests, and doubled down on that adrenaline-fueled debate format. It's not news anymore, it's theater with better lighting. And in that chaos, a few politicians saw a shot to climb the ladder. A senator from Texas started hinting at a National Speaker Safety Act. A rep from California fired back, accusing conservatives of playing the victim. Late-night shows picked it up, influencers turned it into sound bites, and suddenly the shooting wasn't just a tragedy, it was an audition. Everyone wanted their clip to go viral because in 2025 America, attention is the new currency. Even the White House wasn't quiet. Sources say a few advisors were drafting internal memos about public unity messaging. The nice way of saying, how do we turn this into a bipartisan win? The playbook was obvious. Frame it as healing the nation while quietly tightening the rules on speech and protest. They've done it before, and they'll do it again. History repeats itself, not because people forget, but because power never sleeps. One former aide said it best, the louder the people yell online, the quieter the deals get signed in DC. And man, that's exactly what's happening right now. While social media keeps replaying the same 10 seconds of chaos, committees are filing amendments that'll outlive the outrage. They know the cycle. Public panic, legislative window, public distraction. Rinse and repeat. It's Politics 101. And yet, even inside those rooms, not everyone's on the same team. Some lawmakers are genuinely freaking out about the precedent this could set. Others are whispering about creating balance, which usually means giving power a prettier name. The debate isn't really about free speech, it's about who gets to define it, because whoever defines it owns it. And the kicker, this power play didn't start after the shooting, it started years ago. Every culture war, every viral clip, every campus meltdown story has been softening the public up for control disguised as order. This incident just gave them the emotional ammo to move faster. It's not chaos to them, it's opportunity with perfect timing. And the lobbying firms are playing both sides, as always. Some are whispering in conservative ears about defending speech, others in liberal ears about keeping students safe. Two sides, same checkbooks. That's the DC hustle. Pretend to pick a side while cashing in from both. Out in the open, you'll see senators yelling on camera, pounding fists, looking like heroes. But behind the curtain, they're shaking hands with the very lobbyists they claim to hate. It's like pro wrestling, all drama, zero difference. The audience sees a fight, the insiders see a paycheck. And now whispers are spreading about who's really writing that bill. Not the politicians, not the lawyers, but think tanks funded by mega donors, the same groups that push online ads about protecting democracy. You know the type, flag background, emotional piano, then a donate now button. Yeah, those guys. They don't care about safety, they care about leverage. control the narrative, and you control the vote. And a few reporters have started connecting the dots, but most won't touch it. Too risky, too many ad partners. One even said off record, "You don't bite the hand that feeds your airtime." That's DC journalism for you. Bold on Twitter, silent in the boardroom. And the thing is, the American people can feel it. Even those who don't follow politics can sense something's off. The outrage feels too organized, the speeches sound too rehearsed. It's like everyone's reading from the same invisible script. Because maybe they are. The next few weeks are going to be crucial. Committees will debate security measures, networks will play both sides, and the public will think they're watching democracy in action. But in reality, it's just another round of political chess. And this time, the pawns are the people shouting online while the kings and queens quietly change the rules of the game. And if you think that's the end of it, think again. Because there's one name that keeps popping up in every backroom briefing, every leaked memo, every late-night call. The guy who's not supposed to be involved, but somehow always is. Yeah, him. And when his name drops, this whole story might flip upside down.
48 hours. That's all it took for tragedy to turn into profit. Within 2 days of the shooting, fundraising pages blew up like fireworks on the 4th of July. Every campaign, every activist group, every PAC, all milking the chaos like it was a damned gold rush. This wasn't grief, it was business. The hashtags were still trending, but the donation links were already live. Left, right, doesn't matter. Everybody's cashing in. It's the new American hustle. Monetize the outrage before it cools off. On the right, conservative fundraisers started pumping out ads calling it an attack on free speech. Merch drops followed within hours, shirts saying "Stand with Kirk," "Speech over silence," "Freedom ain't free." And people were buying. Emotional politics sells faster than logic ever could. The same voices that scream cancel culture were canceling each other over who could sell the better t-shirt. Meanwhile, the donation numbers were climbing like crypto in 2021. Over on the left, it wasn't much different. Progressive PACs started running donation drives to combat political extremism and protect student voices. They spun the story, flipped it upside down, and cashed in just as hard. New newsletters, new subscriber goals, new awareness campaigns, all conveniently tied to recurring donation buttons. The internet wasn't mourning, it was buying. And that's the dirty little secret nobody wants to say out loud. Every political storm in America comes with an economic aftershock. Ad revenue spikes, subscriptions jump, donor bases grow. Outrage isn't just an emotion anymore, it's a business model. The machine feeds on chaos, and right now, it's feasting. Cable news knows it. Within hours of the incident, networks extended coverage slots, booked louder guests, and slapped special reports on the same recycled footage. Ratings tripled. The anchors pretended to be solemn, but their producers were popping champagne in the control room. Tragedy equals eyeballs, eyeballs equal advertisers, and advertisers equal paychecks. It's a grim math, but it works every time. You could see it happening in real time. Talk show hosts started hinting at special coverage series. YouTubers were pumping out 5 videos a day. TikTok creators dropped breakdowns like they were CSI investigators. One viral clip even had a fake voice of Kirk saying, "This is the price of free speech." Total AI-generated nonsense. But it hit 1 million views overnight. When the algorithm smells blood, it doesn't care if it's real or fake. It just feeds. And while the public fought over truth, ad companies quietly adjusted their spend. Brands that normally avoid politics started sliding into the chaos. Bravery-themed ads, unity messages, and patriotic backdrops over credit card logos. Every tragedy becomes a marketing moment in America. It's not heartless, it's just the system. But here's where it gets dark.
PAC money started moving like a current under the surface. Anonymous donors, new committees, emergency funds, all created overnight. You could trace the flow if you knew where to look. Some of those funds were routing back to media companies, others to think tanks writing the official response papers. A few even tied back to influencers who'd gone viral from their takes. That's how the cycle stays alive. Attention turns into influence, influence turns into money, and money keeps the outrage rolling. Political consultants were calling it a digital adrenaline rush. They knew the playbook. When emotions spike, wallets open. Campaign strategists were already planning ads around the chaos. Clips of Kirk's speeches, edited with dramatic music and slow-motion crowd shots, labeled as the cost of speaking truth. They'll call it courage, but really, it's branding. And let's talk about those donations. Record-breaking doesn't even cover it. Reports came out showing millions in grassroots funding pouring into both sides. People who never donated before were suddenly emptying their Venmo balances for the cause. Nobody asked where the money was going, just that it felt right in the moment. That's emotional spending, the kind that turns politics into a dopamine hit. Click, donate, feel righteous. Then came the corporate money. Super PACs and lobbying firms saw the viral numbers and smelled opportunity. They started buying ad space, sponsoring awareness events, and pushing legislation that conveniently aligned with their clients' interests. It's not even about ideology anymore. It's about leverage. Who controls the narrative controls the next election cycle. And meanwhile, Kirk's name was trending across every platform, not as a person, but as a symbol. To one side, he's a victim of a culture gone mad. To the other, he's the spark that lit a long overdue debate. His face became a thumbnail, his quotes became hashtags, and his pain became content. It's brutal, but that's how modern fame works. You don't choose the moment chooses you. The aftermath wasn't about justice or healing, it was about ownership. Who gets to own the story? Who gets to frame it? Who gets to sell it? Media houses were running exclusive interviews, half the time with people who didn't even know him. Clips of old speeches resurfaced, sliced up for both sides to weaponize. Every word reinterpreted, every pause analyzed, every gesture monetized. By the end of the week, nobody was talking about the shooting anymore. They were talking about the movement. And that's exactly how Washington likes it. Keep the people emotional, keep the money flowing, keep the attention high, because attention equals control. When the public's caught up in arguing about symbols, nobody's watching the paperwork sliding through Congress. Laws get passed quietly while the noise keeps the crowd distracted. It's the oldest trick in the book. Bread and circuses, just digital now. Behind the scenes, consultants started meeting with Kirk's team, floating the idea of turning the tragedy into purpose. That's DC talk for how to rebrand pain into power. There's already talk of a free speech summit with sponsors lined up, stage lights booked, and ticket links waiting for a green light. They'll call it awareness, but make no mistake, it's a campaign in disguise. The line between politics and showbiz doesn't exist anymore. It's all one screen, one message, one algorithm. And that's what makes this story so wild. A man gets shot, a nation spirals, and in less than a week, it becomes an economy. Everyone gets their cut. Politicians, influencers, journalists, consultants. The only ones left behind are the viewers who think they're watching news when they're actually watching marketing. The chaos isn't accidental, it's engineered. And now donors are flexing their power, hinting they'll only back candidates who stand against campus violence. Translation, say what we want or we'll pull your funding. Campaigns are already shaping their talking points around the incident. Ads, speeches, debates, all will circle back to this one moment. It's not about truth,
It's about traction. And even the numbers online tell the story. YouTube channels covering the case doubled their subs. Twitter accounts gained thousands overnight. Journalists who were nobodies last week now have blue checks and brand deals. In the modern attention economy, tragedy isn't the end, it's the launch pad. And as the dust settles, you can almost feel the gears of the system locking back into place. The chaos fades, the hashtags slow down, but the money keeps moving. Because that's the new American reality. Outrage doesn't die, it just reinvests itself. But the real question, is Charlie Kirk now a symbol or a strategy? Because if he's a symbol, he represents everything America is fighting about: speech, safety, power, division. But if he's a strategy, then somebody's using him to test how far they can bend the public's emotion before it breaks. Either way, this isn't over. The game's just getting started.
This isn't just politics anymore. It's a damn identity crisis. The shooting didn't just spark debates. It lit up the fault lines already splitting America down the middle. Social media turned into a war zone, not over facts, but over feelings. Everyone had a side, everyone had a version, and nobody wanted the truth unless it proved their point. This isn't left versus right anymore, bro. It's trust versus truth. And the whole country's picking sides like it's the damn Super Bowl. Twitter's still melting down. One camp's posting free speeches under attack, the other screaming, "Words have consequences." It's not even about Charlie Kirk anymore. It's about what he represents. People are fighting over symbols like they're sacred texts. Memes are the new propaganda, threads are the new manifestos, and the truth somewhere buried under 1,000 retweets of noise. Every clip, every edit, every opinion is a weapon in a digital war where nobody wins but everybody wants credit for the burn. On TikTok, it's chaos. Campus clips get millions of views. Students chanting, professors arguing, people filming like they're in a documentary no one asked for. Every side claims moral high ground. One student says they're standing for freedom. Another says they're fighting hate. They're both live streaming, both chasing views, both convinced they're the hero. And the craziest part? The more divided they act, the more engagement they get. The algorithm doesn't want peace, it wants drama. And we keep feeding it. Walk onto any campus right now and you'll feel it. Tension in the air like static before a storm. Posters get ripped down, speakers get shouted out, protests turn into push matches that hit Reddit in minutes. Everyone's angry. Nobody's listening. Professors whisper they've never seen it this bad. Students are exhausted but addicted. They can't log off even when it's killing their sanity. That's what culture wars do. They burn slow, but they burn everything. And this new generation, they're different. They don't trust politicians. They don't trust media. They barely trust their own feed. They've seen too much hypocrisy to believe in clean hands anymore. They're growing up in a world where every adult sounds like a brand and every truth has a sponsor. One minute they're told to speak their mind, the next they're told to watch their tone. No wonder they're mad. No wonder they're done playing nice. Older folks say, back in my day, like nostalgia's gonna fix it, but that day's gone. The internet rewired everything. Attention, emotion, even empathy. It's not about debating anymore, it's about dunking. Every argument's a clip, every clip's a flex, every flex is currency. You can go viral just by being loud enough to piss people off. That's the new fame. Moral outrage with a monetization button. Even families are cracking. Thanksgiving dinners feel like debate stages now. Parents quote cable news, kids quote TikTok, and nobody actually hears each other. The living rooms turn into a miniature culture war. One side's Fox, the other's Twitter, and the Wi-Fi is holding the country together by a thread. America used to argue about taxes and wars. Now it argues about what reality even is. Religious groups are weighing in, artists are picking sides, brands are tweeting solidarity statements like they're moral referees. Everybody wants to be seen doing the right thing. Nobody's sure what the right thing even means anymore. The divide isn't just political, it's spiritual. People aren't just disagreeing, they're losing faith the other side's even human. That's what happens when every screen trains you to see opponents instead of neighbors. And if you think it's just the kids losing it, think again. Boomers are rage posting Facebook rants like it's the damn Civil War. Gen X is caught in the middle, sipping coffee and tweeting sarcasm. Millennials are exhausted, Gen Z's radical, and Gen Alpha's watching this like, why the hell would I want to grow up? The generational fuse is burning fast, and when it hits the powder cake, no one's safe. Even celebrities are diving in. Actors, athletes, influencers, all turning complex politics into digestible takes. One wrong sentence and boom, you're canceled. One emotional post and you're a hero for a day. It's not authenticity that gets rewarded, it's performance. Everyone's auditioning for approval. And in the middle of that noise, real pain gets lost. Real nuance dies. What's wild is how predictable it's become. You can practically set your watch by the outrage cycle. Something happens, the internet explodes, hashtags rise, alliances form, sponsors react, and it all resets like a soap opera. The outrage industry doesn't rest, it rebrands. And every round leaves the country a little more fractured, a little more numb, a little more ready to burn. Even comedy's lost its chill. Late-night jokes sound like sermons. Podcasts sound like court cases, and satire is becoming prophecy. You can't even laugh without someone reading your politics off your punchline. Humor used to unite, now it just divides with better lighting. Everyone's scared of saying the wrong thing, but addicted to watching others get roasted for it. That's not dialogue, that's digital gladiator sport. And somewhere in all this madness, Charlie Kirk stopped being a person and became a projection. To some, he's a victim of ideology gone violent. To others, he's a warning of what happens when rhetoric gets reckless. But either way, he's not controlling the narrative anymore. The culture is. His name's just a tag on a wound America keeps reopening. And the government? It's watching. Officials monitor hashtags, pollsters track emotions, lobbyists analyze outrage data like stock charts. They know which words spark donations and which ones crash careers. They're not guessing, they're measuring. The public's anger has become a political resource. And as long as we keep screaming, they keep calculating. It's not even about belief now, it's about belonging. People pick sides like teams because loneliness hits harder than logic. It feels safer to fight with a group than think alone. That's why the outrage feels endless. It fills the silence. You scroll, you argue, you post, because stopping means facing how hollow it's all become. And here's the scariest part. The divide isn't just external anymore. It's in us. People second-guess every word before they say it, every post before they hit send. We've internalized the fear. We censor ourselves before anyone else can. Freedom of speech might still exist on paper, but in practice, it's filtered through anxiety. That's the real control, when you don't even need laws to make people quiet. America's not in a civil war, it's in a mirror war. Everyone's yelling at their reflection, mistaking it for the enemy. The culture's cracked, the media's monetized, and the people are trapped in an endless scroll of outrage they think is activism. And somewhere in between, the truth bleeds out, unseen, unshared, unloved. And that's when the story takes a darker turn, the part no one's ready to talk about, because the next battle isn't going to be fought on campuses or cable TV. It's already moving somewhere deeper, into the systems that shape what we see, what we say, and what we believe.
Every major shock in U.S. politics leaves a scar, and this one's fresh, raw, and bleeding into every screen in America. What went down with Charlie Kirk didn't just rattle a campus, it cracked open something the system's been trying to keep sealed. You can feel it in the tone online, in the way politicians are suddenly reframing conversations, and how media houses are rewriting the rules of what's acceptable to say out loud. The country's heartbeat just changed tempo, and trust me, that rhythm's not going away anytime soon. You can already see the ripple effect. Committees in D.C. are holding urgent hearings, but half of them are just performative theater. Senators use phrases like safeguarding discourse, which sounds noble as hell, but really just means tightening the leash. Bills are being drafted quietly, behind polished smiles and closed doors. Language so vague it could mean anything. That's how it always starts. The system sells fear like it's freedom, and Americans keep swiping the card. Online, the vibe's even darker. Platforms are tweaking algorithms faster than they admit. Suddenly, certain clips vanish, certain accounts get flagged, and certain topics don't trend like they used to. It's not random, bro. It's data control. After every political shock, big tech goes full damage control mode. But what they're really doing is damage management. Not for the people, for the power structure. Because chaos isn't bad for business, it's just bad when the wrong people are profiting from it. And the craziest part, most users don't even notice. They just scroll. The feed feels the same, but it's been rearranged. A little less outrage, a little more distraction, a lot more control. The outrage that used to spike overnight now fades faster than ever, not because people stopped caring, but because someone flipped a digital switch. That's how modern censorship works, not by banning words, but by burying them under noise. Meanwhile, politicians are lining up to capitalize. Both sides are milking the narrative like it's election gold. One side screaming about threats to free speech, the others building campaigns around toxic rhetoric. It's not about truth, it's about traction. Election season's going to turn this story into a full-blown slogan war. Justice, safety, freedom, accountability, buzzwords polished, packaged, and fed back to voters like fast food. The same crisis reheated until it sells again. Don't get it twisted. This shooting isn't just a moment, it's a pivot. It's the kind of flashpoint that reshapes policies, fundraising, and even how people talk about politics itself. If you zoom out, you can already see the narrative arcs forming. New safety laws, new online speech rules, maybe even a push for federal disinformation oversight. Every time something big happens, the system gets a little tighter and the people get a little quieter. The media is loving it too. Ratings spike when the country's scared. Every host's got a special report, every pundit's got a take, and every influencer's got a reaction. Outrage equals clicks, and clicks equal cash. Nobody's trying to solve the problem, they're monetizing it. That's the new economy, crisis content. If it bleeds, it leads, and if it trends, it pays. But here's where things really twist, the corporate side of politics. Lobbyists are watching these culture battles like investors watching the stock market. They don't care who's right or wrong, they care who's profitable. Gun lobby, speech lobby, tech lobby, they're all adjusting their portfolios right now, predicting which side of the outrage will yield the biggest return. It's not ideology, it's arithmetic. And that's what makes it dangerous, because while the public argues in comment sections, the real power is moving quietly, off camera, where the noise can't reach. Campaign managers are testing which fear-based ads perform best. Data analysts are tracking which demographic flinches hardest at certain headlines. Politics has turned into behavioral marketing. The outrage isn't the problem, it's the product. You think the next election is going to be clean? No, man. It's going to be psychological warfare wrapped in patriotic colors. Every party is going to drop truth campaigns, every influencer is going to claim independence, and voters are going to be too exhausted to tell the difference. The system doesn't need you to convince you, it just needs you confused enough to give up. That's how control works in the modern age. Keep the crowd divided, keep the data unified. And while all that's happening, the culture split keeps widening. The campus generation that just witnessed this chaos, they're stepping into the real world angry, hyper-aware, and cynical. They're not waiting for politicians to fix things, they're building their own platforms, their own movements, their own echo chambers. It's a new kind of rebellion, decentralized, digital, and damn near unstoppable. But without leadership, it can implode just as fast as it rises. That's the thing. America's outrage has no steering wheel. Everyone's flooring it, nobody's guiding it. The result is a country that's permanently online, permanently offended, and permanently tired. The system doesn't have to silence you if it can just drain your energy. You burn out, they move on. You protest, they pivot. It's a game of attrition, and they've got the stamina. Even law enforcement is changing posture. Behind the scenes, they're ramping up campus security, drafting new public speech safety protocols, and coordinating with social media watchdogs. It sounds like protection until you realize it's surveillance. Cameras, scanners, databases, all justified under the banner of keeping the peace. The more chaotic the culture gets, the easier it is to sell control as safety. And here's the ironic part. Every generation that tries to fix America ends up inheriting a version of the same system, just with better tech and worse trust. We rebuild, rebrand, repeat. It's like a national loop of trauma and denial. And no one ever stops long enough to ask, who keeps resetting the game? maybe that's the real unseen fallout. Not the laws, not the headlines, but the mindset. We've started expecting chaos. We've normalized division. Outrage feels like home now. It's like we forgot how to function without a crisis. The system doesn't have to break us. We're doing it ourselves, one viral argument at a time. But here's where it all circles back to the beginning. Remember how this started? One incident, one shock, one spark. And now it's rippled across every institution, schools, politics, media, tech, even our own sense of identity. That's the new kind of war, not fought with bullets, but with narratives. And in that war, truth doesn't win because it's right, it wins because it's repeated. So, what happens next? Maybe nothing, or maybe everything. Maybe this is the wake-up call that forces Americans to actually look at the machinery behind their outrage. Or maybe it's just another headline that fades before breakfast. But one thing's for sure, the game's changed. The rules are written in code now, and whoever controls the flow of information controls the future. So yeah, this fallout's unseen but not felt. You can sense it in every debate, every law proposal, every recommended for you video. The system is adapting fast. And the question isn't whether America can survive another shock like this. The real question is, how many more before it forgets who it even is? Let's wrap this up, but not before we connect all the dots. Because if you trace the line from that campus to Congress to your timeline, you'll realize something wild. The story never ended. It just went digital.
In the court of public opinion, Charlie Kirk's shooting is more than an attack. It's a test of what America's willing to believe. And right now, the jury's still out. The evidence isn't clean, the motives aren't clear, and the truth? Well, truth's been on trial in this country for a long damn time. What happened that day might have been over in seconds, but the echo hasn't stopped. It's bouncing through newsrooms, campuses, and Capitol halls, reshaping what people call freedom, what they call justice, and what they even dare to say out loud anymore. You can feel it, that unease in the air, the sense that something bigger than a headline is moving underneath all this noise. Every channel says it's about safety or speech or ideology, but deep down, everyone knows this is about control. Who has it, who's losing it, and who's willing to fake it just to keep it. That's America's eternal courtroom, power on one side, perception on the other. And right now, perception's winning by a landslide. Facts don't matter unless they trend. People don't believe what's proven, they believe what's viral. A TikTok clip gets more credibility than a congressional report. A meme can flip public sentiment faster than an official statement. The jury's no longer 12 citizens. It's millions of users scrolling, liking, judging in real time. The verdict isn't handed down in a courthouse anymore. It's delivered in comment sections and quote tweets. That's the twisted beauty and tragedy of this new era. Justice doesn't wear a robe, it wears a hashtag. And outrage? Outrage is the new opening statement. You don't need evidence, just emotion. You don't need witnesses, just followers. And in a country built on debate, we've somehow turned disagreement into entertainment. Look at how the story played out. Within hours of the shooting, the country split like glass under pressure. Half called it an attack on freedom, half called it karma. Nobody paused, nobody breathed. It was all about who could shout the loudest, post the fastest, and twist the narrative sharp enough to cut through the algorithm. It's not justice, it's performance. Every side wants to win the argument more than they want to fix the system. But here's the kicker. This isn't new. America's always loved a good trial. Salem witches, Watergate, OJ, impeachment, take your pick. We turn chaos into theater because it gives us a sense of control over things we can't stand to face. But this time, it's different.
The courtroom's gone digital, and the spectators became the jury. We're all participating in our own manipulation, one retweet at a time. The more you zoom out, the clearer it gets. Charlie Kirk's story isn't just about him. It's about what happens when ideology meets emotion in a world that never logs off. It's about how fear becomes currency, how outrage becomes strategy, and how truth becomes just another subscription plan in the media economy. Everyone's selling it, no one's buying it. Behind every viral clip, there's a team tracking metrics. Behind every breaking story, there's a meeting about ad slots. Behind every exclusive leak, there's a deal being cut. That's the real trial, not over guilt or innocence, but over influence. The verdict isn't about who's right, it's about who benefits. And what's wild? We've gotten so used to the game that we barely notice it anymore. We'll rage about corruption on one tab and buy merch from the same system on another. The outrage industry is undefeated. It feeds off division, thrives in confusion, and always finds a new headline to weaponize. The Kirk shooting is just the latest exhibit, Exhibit A in America's ongoing case against itself. But let's be honest, every trial needs a judge, right? Someone to bring order to the madness. Only problem is, nobody trusts anyone to hold the gavel anymore. Not the politicians, not the journalists, not the platforms. Everybody's got an angle, and everybody's for sale. So, we improvise. We judge for ourselves, we vote with clicks, and we call it democracy. But is it? Or is it just digital chaos, disguised as choice? The courtroom's packed, not with jurors, but with spectators holding smartphones. They're live streaming justice, editing it, monetizing it. It's loud, messy, emotional, and that's exactly how the system likes it. The more we fight, the less we notice the people writing the scripts behind the curtain. They don't need to silence us if they can just keep us shouting at each other. Still, every courtroom has a breaking point. That moment when the shouting dies down and someone finally asks, "What the hell are we even doing?" Maybe that's where we are now. Maybe the Kirk case, the coverage, the chaos, the consequences is that mirror moment. The one forcing America to stare itself down and realize this isn't left versus right anymore. It's truth versus trust. And right now, trust is losing the fight. The craziest part? Nobody's innocent. The media pushed narratives for views. Politicians milked outrage for donations. Influencers chased clout like it was oxygen. And the public? We played along. We fed the beast, one comment at a time. It's not that we don't know better, it's that the chaos feels good. The drama keeps us hooked. It's the one thing that makes us feel like we matter. But here's where it flips. Because even in this madness, there's a chance, a small one, but real, that people might start waking up. Start realizing that outrage doesn't have to be the engine. That maybe, just maybe, conversation could still matter more than clicks. That's the verdict we haven't reached yet. The one that decides if this country still believes in dialogue or if it's fully sold its soul to the algorithm. So, as the dust settles, as the headlines fade, and as the next scandal steals the spotlight, remember this. Every story like this leaves fingerprints on the system. It teaches the powerful how to manipulate better and tests how much the public's willing to tolerate. And this time, we've shown them a lot. Maybe too much. Because if America's greatest weapon has always been free speech, then its greatest weakness might just be the noise drowning it out. And right now, the noise is winning. So yeah, in the court of public opinion, Charlie Kirk's shooting isn't just an event. It's a verdict on who we've become: distrustful, divided, desensitized. Everyone's claiming truth, nobody's listening. The trial never ends, it just changes defendants. But maybe that's why Power Crossed exists, not to hand down judgment, but to remind you that power and truth will always collide. And when they do, somebody's story gets rewritten. So, America, the floor's yours, the jury's you. What's the verdict? Is this just another outrage cycle, or the moment we finally stop letting the system play us like background noise? Drop your take below, hit that sub button, and stay tuned, because in this country, power always crosses paths with controversy. And trust me, this story, it's far from over.